thanks, Kerry. So my name is Rushani Wijesuriya, and I go by the pronouns she, her. First of all, happy International Women's Day to everyone here. And yes, I'm a research officer biostatistician at the Clinical Epidemiology and Biostatistics Unit at the Murdoch Children's Research Institute at the Royal Children's Hospital here in Melbourne. Just a bit about my journey so far. So the team had sent us some prompts for the talk, and the first one was really what made you want to be a data scientist? And like most of us here, I found that really hard to answer because really there's no specific answer. So I thought I'd reflect a bit on my journey just to help me explain what really inspired me to be where I am today. So I am originally from Sri Lanka, which is a small island nation in the Indian Ocean. So I put the map in case there are people who are not familiar with that country. So as you can see in my early years, of course, I didn't set out to be a data scientist. Actually, I don't think it existed at that time. So I first started wanting to be a teacher, which then was I wanted to be a doctor. But towards later years of my secondary school, I realized that I was pretty good at math. And I really enjoyed that. So I decided to sit for my university entrance exams in math. And that really allowed me to enter the University of Colombo Faculty of Science, which is where really I got my first taste for statistics. So I decided to do my honors degree in statistics. So we had this small module really in medical statistics in that honors degree. And I took an interest in that because I really like the application of statistics that can ultimately impact population health. So which I thought was really cool. But the problem I had at that point was that in Sri Lanka, we really don't have something called biostatistics. Like we don't have expertise in biostatistics. It's not very widespread. And we rarely have statisticians who are embedded within and collaborating with clinicians in hospitals. So I had to look a bit externally, but fortunately with some help from some amazing mentors who I am extremely grateful for, I was able to apply for a PhD in biostatistics at the University of Melbourne. So moved to Australia, and which I finished last year. And here I am now doing a postdoc in biostatistics. So with regards to my current work at CEBU, it's a very wonderful group of statisticians that I've shown here. I think some of them are missing here, but really a wonderful group to work with, whose aim is actually, the ultimate aim is to improve population health through innovation and expertise in biostatistical methods. And we sort of aim to achieve this through these three avenues. I actually stole this from my supervisor's slides. So thank you, Margarita, for that. So we try to achieve that through methodological research, collaborative research, and also teaching and training. And I'll elaborate a bit in the next slide how that really fits into my work. So with my current work, my current portfolio of work really involves all of these three bits. So I am actually in a group of a smaller team within CEBU that's specializing in causal inference methods. So that's the group up there. Again, a wonderful group. So with most of the research that we do, we get a lot of clinical and public health research questions that ask causal questions. So to answer them, it's very critical that we have clear causal inference thinking and methods. And that's what we do within that space. So I also have a bit of expertise in missing data missing data handling techniques that is coming from my PhD, as well as my postdoc work, which is again a problem that we get in most studies, but it's a major problem in these life course longitudinal studies because we have lots to follow up. So my methodological research is actually directly informed by this collaborative research that I do, which is mostly with the population allergy group and the sociobiological epidemiology group within the MCRI. And they also come to me with a lot of causal inference questions and missing data problems, so that the results from my methods work really directly feed into my applied work, which is like a continuous loop of improvement, which I think is really cool. And of course, all of this also leads to teaching and training materials that ultimately educates clinicians, epidemiologists, and students who could be the next generation of biostatisticians. So, like I said, although I do work as a data scientist / biostatistician now, I didn't start setting out to be a data scientist. So I guess there's really no right or wrong directions in life. You just try forward and pivot when necessary. That was quite clear from all of our stories as well that was shared today. But of course, that being said, mentors have been a key bit in my journey, and most of them are women. So you will also hear from Dr. Anrika De Silva, who have been an amazing mentor and a friend in the next hour. So stay tuned for that. And I think this is precisely the reason why I think diversity in STEM and data science is quite important. It's key, really, because these mentors and role models are critical to show us that things are possible, and they inspire us and show that we belong in this space and that we matter. So given that I'm surrounded by many strong, wonderful women, I am, and others who are advocating for equity, I'm really hopeful and optimistic. And I think we are moving the needle in the right direction, slowly but surely. And I'm also hopeful, and I'm very inspired that lots of committees are being formed that are promoting diversity and inclusivity within statistical societies and associations. And one key example for that is the EDI committee in the Statistical Society of Australia that was formed 2 years ago. So if you're not a member of the Statistical Society of Australia, I encourage you to join, as well as the EDI committee, because we're always looking for people. So I'm a part of that committee. And I think the recent NHMRC changes that was announced with respect to gender equity in investigator grants were also a welcome change. And I think it just shifts dynamics, and I'm really hopeful for the future. But that thing being said, although things are improving and things are looking up, I think we have space to do more. So for example, I want to plug in this work, a shameless plug really, in this work that was led by Associate Professor Karen Lamb, who is again a wonderful mentor of mine, where we analyzed the authorship of articles published in this statistical magazine. And we saw that only over a quarter of the articles included any women in the authors list at all. So it was a bit hard. It was a bit disheartening. So it just shows us that we need to do more. So with that said, what can you do? So there's actually loads that we can do, but it really has to start with you. I think like Sahani, Deborah, many of us talking earlier mentioned there are unconscious biases. So we need to recognize these limiting beliefs about us. And I hope once you do and take space, which also takes a lot of courage and perseverance really. And once you do that, I hope you give back and help others. So a lot of my mentors have done this for me, and this has inspired me to do the same. And this was something that was mentioned by a lot of others today as well, including Amy before me. So finally, I think if you think the task is really hard to achieve alone, I implore you to join initiatives because we have power in numbers. And then finally, as a group, what can we do? Of course, mentoring programs are really important so that younger generations has the opportunity to connect with mentors. And I think the last one I think that comes to my mind is, of course, visibility, like this event precisely, because we need to provide platforms to diverse people so that they have the chance to tell their stories, and that in turn it inspires future generations. So we heard these diverse stories, and like what stood out to me was that most of them had non-linear trajectories in becoming data scientists. And I was thinking like, how cool is that? So I think it's important these stories are shared so that we can shatter these existing limiting beliefs and narratives about who can be what. So thank you, Australian Data Science Network, for organizing this. I love listening to all of your honest, raw stories that were shared today, and I'm looking forward to hearing more. And with that said, I'll finally thank you, all of you, for listening. And I wish you all the courage to take space and continue telling your stories loud and clear. And I will leave with you something that I read recently that really resonated with me. And I, of course, have left my contacts here as well if you ever want to reach out about anything really, but especially if any of this resonated with you and you'd love to connect. Thank you.